Come what may, bring it on. I'm gonna love it.
Welcome to LDS Unmarried Life, a podcast for single members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who find themselves single either because they're divorced, widowed, or not yet married. There is no affiliation with the church. This podcast can be found on AnnetteTalks.com, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and YouTube, and I think Spotify as well. I'm asking everyone right now to subscribe to my YouTube channel because Facebook is kind of dissing me a little bit on the advertising. And so I'm trying to congregate over there because if you get enough subscribers, you have a community tab where you can all go in and talk to each other and conduct polls and everything. Also, I'm involved in a 30-day dating commitment, aka 30-day bae right now. As some of you know, by the time this episode posts, those 30 days are probably going to be over, and maybe it's already crashed and burned by then. I don't know. But you can see me YouTubing every day of the 30 days. Today is day 6, and I'm taking the day off, but tomorrow is day 7. And so if you're interested in what it's like to see inside of a 30-day long-distance relationship when the two have not met each other but have committed to dating for 30 days, find me on YouTube. All right, so today we are going to talk about online dating stories, and we're calling it It's Not Mutual because of the Mutual app, obviously, and because Sarah came up with that awesome title. But most of us who are here listening are not engaged, not married, and so obviously our attempts at dating have not been ultimately successful yet. And so we've been around for a while and had some experience dating. So before we get into that topic, we're going to go around the table and introduce ourselves. And we have a few new people today, which is really exciting because I always love having new voices and viewpoints. So I'll start. Everyone knows me. I'm Annette Bybee. This is my podcast. Let's see. I'm 50. I've been divorced for almost 4 years. I've got 3 kids, ages 11, almost 10, and 8. And just having a good time podcasting. And to my right, we have a new lady here.
My name's Melissa. I'm not going to give my phone number out over like the other podcasts.
Oh, yeah. Steve likes to do that.
So, and if I could, it would be 867-5309, and you can find my name on the wall somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm 50. I've been divorced 4.5 years. I have 3 kids, 20-year-old, 18-year-old, and 11-year-old. So, and I share custody with their dad.
Did you say an 18-year-old and a 1-year-old?
11.
11. Okay. Sorry.
No. And there's a reason why God doesn't give old ladies babies for a reason. No. So, yeah, and I have a boy, a girl, and a boy. And I got my daughters just graduating from high school, so they keep me busy.
Welcome.
Sure.
Good to have you.
Thanks.
And?
I'm Emily. I have an 11-year-old boy, a 9-year-old girl, and a 7-year-old boy. In the last 4 years since I've been divorced, I haven't, just on this topic really quickly, I haven't done a whole lot with dating. I've done a lot with being social and going to events and throughout the entire Denver metro area, way down south, up north, west, and east, just to meet a bunch of people, just to see what the social scene is like.
Yeah, you're jumping the gun here, Emily. Just tell us who you are.
So that's just my interesting tidbit.
That's it?
There
You
we
just
go.
want to tell us
Yeah,
you've socialized and you have 3 kids?
Your turn, you can talk.
You know what? I guess I should start mentioning that at the beginning of every podcast, that we're in Colorado. We're not in Zion. We're not Utah Mormons.
Zion and all her stakes are scattered throughout.
You're right. But
Hence,
just in case
the need for gathering.
Just in case people are interested in dating any of us.
Oh, yes.
You have to come to Colorado to find us if we're going to do in-person dating.
I am interested in doing a 30-day bae.
Oh, sweet.
I just don't know how I would go about it. Like, I watched and things on online and read the article, and I thought, that sounds kind of cool. It's different from what Barbie does dating. What Barbie talked about with 5 minutes of dating someone and then deciding if you're going to marry them or not. She talks
it's like
about
the
that on
opposite.
Whispers.
You're trapped for 30. I mean, not trapped. You're committed. See, the 30 days is over by the time they're listening to this, so it's all right. But you're committed for 30 days.
I would love to have that experience of being committed for 30 days, knowing that it's going to end and we can have the option of continue that if we choose to, but also knowing that because we're committed, we are going to make choices that lend to making things work for 30 days.
Yes.
And what we learned from that. So
I want people to know that if you're wanting more information on that, look on YouTube and look on Facebook, Annette Talks page, because I posted everything there about what this is all about, in case you're wondering. All
I
right.
skipped you, Michael.
No, we're going to
Sorry about
Michael.
that.
Okay, my name's Michael, aka Mike, aka Ross, aka Riff. I have a few names that I answer to.
Aliases?
They're aliases.
You're running from the law?
No, I'm in the witness protection program. Didn't I tell you that?
No, gosh. I should have vetted you better.
Don't let it get
kidding,
out.
Kidding.
Yeah.
No, my family calls me Ross, and all my friends call me Michael.
Interesting. So your friends are...
So when my family and my friends meet, it gets interesting
I'll bet.
because they're like, "Who's Ross?" I'm like, "Who are you?"
Nice.
I'm 54. I don't have any kids. I have been divorced since 2005, and I haven't really been completely unhappy being single. But when I joined the church, which I joined the church in 2015, as I was coming out of the temple for my, my thing, that my bishop said, "So you know what's next, Michael?" And I was like, yeah, I don't have the foggiest. He said, "You have to get married."
To get married.
You have to.
There's a
You
checklist.
should have read the
didn't
fine
know?
print.
Oh,
you see?
the lovely checklist.
That's a requirement in the church. You didn't know that?
Yeah.
I think
I didn't know until
They didn't
I
give you the checklist?
No, see, once you sign the contract, then they tell you.
That's in the fine print.
Buyer beware.
On a personal note, you're 54. See, when I first met you, I thought you were in your 30s. And
You look
so
young,
you
Michael.
look super young.
It's because he doesn't have kids.
Yeah, I kind
I
of
know.
dismissed you because you're
And
too
I-
young.
Kids do age
I don't
person.
worship the sun.
Yeah.
So I like,
Yeah, those wrinkles between your eyebrows, you don't have those.
I know,
That's why.
All right, and last but not least, I suck at grammar today.
Hey.
Sarah is on the computer. Tell us about
Hello,
yourself.
virtually.
Yes.
Hello from the 801. I have the pleasure of living in the same vicinity as these lovely folks in Denver, Colorado. Today I am coming to you live from Highland, Utah. 37 years old, never married, no kids, have passport, will travel. Life is grand.
Awesome. And Sarah and I recorded last week, and by the time this posts, her episode will already have posted, and I think I'm going to call it "Are You Happy in Your Heart?" with humanitarian Sarah Worlton.
Yeah.
And it was
I'm
a great,
excited.
it was a great episode. I had a great time recording it, and you
Yeah,
did a
it was a good
fabulous
time.
job on it. So everyone should look for that. And you were also on 2 other episodes last Saturday, and apparently you're addicted because you're back.
I know. I have so many funny stories to share today.
All right, awesome. Well, since it's my podcast, I'm going to start out. This has just been something funny happened a while back. This is before my 30-day thing. This 30-day thing is supposed to be like exclusive, so I'm not supposed to start any relationships with anybody else, which I haven't. But every once in a while, I catch myself still looking on Mutual. But anyway,
Is that the only dating app you're on? Is
no.
Mutual?
Also, well, I'm on Planet as well, and so a few weeks ago, I got you get those matches that they send to you, which are always funny because it's like the same people over and over. But one of my matches I looked at because he looked young, and I'm like, I don't know why they matched me with him, so I clicked on him, and the profile said something like, "I'm in prison right now." And I'm not even allowed to email, so my mom is taking this down and posting it for me. Now this is real. And he said, I want people that are willing to write to me, like snail mail. He's like, I want people that are willing to write to me, and then we can talk. And then he went on to talk about things he wants to do after he gets out. And so he has a picture on there, and it's just him in his regular clothes in a house somewhere or something. And so my mind just took off. I was like, well, first of all, I want to see pictures of him in prison, like in his cell, like a selfie.
Selfie.
I've been waiting weeks to drop that joke. But anyway, he really is in prison. This is all a true story. But I was thinking, what does he think he has to offer? I mean, I know he's lonely, and there's nothing wrong with reaching out to friends and family and saying, can you please write to me? But a dating site?
Right.
Well, if your friends are all the friends that got you there in the first place, maybe they're not the best to be reaching out to. Maybe he's trying to turn a new leaf.
Who's going to engage in conversation with someone saying, I can't wait for you to get out. We're going to watch Prison Break. Ooh, too soon? Like,
I really wanted to know, too, what got him in. He really should have included that. And what's funny is I favorited him so that I could go back and look at it again later for this episode, because I was going to, start with this. And he saw that, and so he messaged me, and well, I guess his mom must have messaged me and said, hey,
Did you say hi to his mom? Hi, Mom.
I did not respond.
It's a
I didn't want
shout-out.
to lead the poor guy on. But he said,
no, that's a hard pass.
He said, I thought, I saw that you favorited me, and I was just wondering if you were willing to write to me. And I didn't respond, and you know what? I have a listener who is in a relationship with a prisoner, and has said she will podcast with me about it, but she hasn't yet, and I'm still hoping you'll do it. I promise I won't make fun of it, the situation, because I'm fascinated by that whole dynamic of how did you get there, what's it like.
I think Dr. Laura has like a whole thing on, codependency or different types of perspectives on relationships that lend themselves to that kind of a relationship.
Well, you do have to wonder why you wouldn't, and I mean,
You gotta wonder.
what, Sarah?
I mean, the fact that they're in jail is a factor in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You never know what's why or whatever.
Maybe they just
that's its own little,
took a candy bar from the
own
Circle
little
K.
beast to tackle.
Yeah.
But the bigger issue is their integration back into society and wanting a relationship soon thereafter. Like, who knows how long they were in there? Maybe they were in there for several years. Like, getting out, getting back integrated in society, getting a job, getting your driver's license, whatever. Like, they are in no position at that point to be in a relationship, or at least in my opinion.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking, my first thought was...
But it makes for a good story, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's why my first thought was, well, after the selfie, was what does he have to offer? I mean, if you're just looking for someone to write snail mail to,
You get more for a pen pal.
yeah, you could write a missionary, right? I mean, yeah, that would be a pen pal, but... So maybe if you're looking for
So
very
some
little...
say, I can't write right now, but I have some friends on a mission that maybe you could talk with.
Yeah, right.
I don't
So
know.
that was I had to open with that because it was so amusing. So who wants to go next that has a story?
I'll go
I
first.
I just have a comment really quick on that favoriting.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like if I'm going to tell someone they're my favorite, I'm going to tell them in person, like over the phone or in face-to-face, if they're long distance, some way I'm going to let them know. And now, being the organizational person that I am, I'm cleaning out my inbox from LDS Planet and cleaning these things out. And I thought, if I'll click saved, then it shows they have 4 tabs at the top in part of one of their screens. And I thought I'll just put save, so it puts it there. So later on I can go back and say, hey, I wanted to check back with this person. And
so you can
see if
save
things-
without favoriting is what you're saying?
Yeah. So I clicked on the star that says saved, but it sent a favorite, and I was like,
It lets you know. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's why
Wait, I
apparently.
just did.
I don't think I knew that because when I clicked on that, I had no intention for him to know that I didn't want to think I was interested in prisoner number 568774 or whatever his prison numbers are.
So the guy replied to "You're my favorite." He didn't reply to the statement, but he just replied in turn with the previous message as we're talking back and forth. And I was like, but the subject line is "You're my favorite." So I was like, do I read into this? Do I just What do I do now? Do I
Just
let
change
it
the
play
subject.
out?
You can change the subject line.
Change the subject.
Okay,
Yeah,
change
you
the
can
subject
change
line.
the subject line.
Yeah, and I usually do when I start a
Yeah,
new topic.
I'm always leery when guys online, like, out of the gate, you're my favorite, hey, beautiful. I'm like, you don't know me. Like, it
Yeah.
just seems
It's cheesy.
disingenuous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say thank you for the compliment, and then I noticed on your profile this. Tell me more about,
Exactly, like, yeah.
and I'll see if it goes anywhere. Yeah, I'll see if it goes anywhere. And most often with those comments, it goes nowhere. Like they don't know how to hold a conversation.
Yeah, I don't know why they even bother sending flirts. Just read my profile and write me an email
Yeah.
telling me something that you like about me or something that intrigues you or ask me a question. Don't just send it. I never respond to flirts.
I don't either.
They're dumb.
Or highs. If you say hi
No,
to me or flirt.
I don't respond to them either. They seem like, I'm sending you a flirt. No, you're not. You're sending me an electronic face.
You pushed
that
a button.
means
Yeah.
nothing.
That's like when someone waves at you on Facebook. Oh, I hate that. It gets right
Now
under
I'm
my
going to do
skin.
that in the pokes.
Oh, the pokes are the worst too. Like, there's something personal about that. So it's like, I'm not comfortable with being
dirty.
poked.
It seems dirty.
Yeah, it does. You're right.
I never thought about it. Dirty, my mind doesn't go there usually, and so I'm just not. But yeah, I have to realize, oh, how are they receiving this? So
I feel violated when somebody pokes me.
So can I say something about the way those are set up,
Yes.
which drives me crazy? I was on LDS Mingle, and then they switched everything over to Planet, LDS Planet, and I was also on Our Time, and which is 50 and older.
Oh, yeah.
So that's with anybody, Christian, whatever. It's just 50 and older. But the thing that drove me crazy about Planet was the fact that. The matches, the top 5, these top 5 matches, you have to click on that person's profile in order to say no. And the problem is that that counts as a view. That counts as a view.
So they see, you viewed me.
And if especially they start with all the local, kind of more local guys.
Yeah.
And I guess I said a no to enough local guys, whatever, that now I've got. There was Wyoming and New Mexico and Kansas and Utah, Idaho, and I was just like, whatever. But that was a problem, because then I started getting messages from guys that I never poked, flirted, winked, or whatever, you know. But yet I had there was all these views that I had viewed, and they're like, oh well. You know, you've been viewing me. And I'm like, no, honestly, I haven't. You just keep popping up, and it's on your profile, which counts as a view. And so I even had to block 1 or 2 different guys because they were like, you know, well, you keep viewing me. And that actually arose out of the fact that my ex-brother-in-law was also on LDS Planet. And because he was local, they kept putting him as a possible match.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, God, no.
I was just talking to him today.
Loser. Yeah. So anyway, I was just like, and I'm like, I don't need to view your profile. I know what your kid looks like, and I've had you in my house for Christmas dinner. You know, it was just, so for me, it was just, and so he intentionally, he texted me to my phone saying, can you stop viewing me on LDS Planet?
Oh, gosh.
And I told him, I'm like, I'm not viewing you. I'm not looking at your profile. It's just that you pop up as a possible match or something else.
It gives you 5 matches for the day.
They give you matches, but when you go through when you land on that profile, whether you want to say yes or no, it's considered a view. And so that's what was, and I'm like, no, and that was really frustrating. It was very frustrating because I'm like, no. And so then that also then led into some other, I just ended up, certain guys would, and so then it kind of did the reverse thing where certain guys kept showing up and I, you know, as my views, and you know, and so it was just like, well, you're viewing me too much, and it's just like, no, I'm not viewing you. So that it's deceptive.
Yeah.
I think it's very deceptive that it racks up those numbers in a very weird way.
Yeah, that's a weird algorithm. Yeah,
That's 'cause
really
Planet.
weird. As a side note, there is a TED Talk that I am going to send out, and if you want to post it on your website. It's called How I Hacked Online Dating, and it's about this woman who is a mathematician or statistician or something, but she figured out eHarmony's or Match.com's algorithm, and she kind of like, to the fact that she knew who to find and who would be a better match. I'll have to send it out, but it's fascinating how she kind of hacked the system and she ended up finding her husband, and it's like the cutest story, and they like toured the world together. And anyway, I'll send it out. It's really interesting, but it's weird. Like, I would be frustrated too that, like, I don't want my ex-brother-in-law's profile, and no, I'm not trying to click on you. Go away. Like, that would be so awkward.
Yeah, so I ended up having to block him. Not because, well, I don't like him, but
Bye.
other than that, though, but I had to just literally block him so that it would stop the views, all of the views. And I think, too, the thing is with the flirts that drove me crazy with it was the fact that I would just be moving around and I would hit the flirt on accident. The flirt is
On
like
the
in
cell
a
phone.
weird place on the
is.
phone.
Oh,
And you're just like, and it's just like, oh!
That's
So then
bad
you're just
news.
like, okay, do I send a message saying I really did not want to flirt with you? You know, I mean,
Oh,
so,
that's like the time when I accidentally
it was-
swiped up on my
Oops.
ex. Yeah.
Oops. I didn't mean to flirt with you.
yeah, so
Yeah, they need an oops button.
Oops.
there is
Swiped
or
up.
even a little pop-up says, are you sure you want to send this flirt? Do
Right,
you want to send this
right.
wave? Do you want to poke this person? Whatever. You know, just so that you can
God.
confirm it.
Because Planet.
Yeah, I don't think they have they
No.
have that on Mutual.
No.
No,
No.
not that
Bumble.
I've
Do you
heard of.
guys do how many location-based apps are you guys on?
Oh,
Meaning
just mutual.
Mutual, Bumble, Tinder, stuff like that.
No.
I haven't stepped outside the LDS realm, you guys.
No, I haven't either.
I haven't either.
Well, only I've been on
I
our
have.
time.
I've been on
Yeah.
Match, and I mean, speaking as I actually do web development and software engineering, and I can tell you, LDS Planet is a poorly written site.
Oh, it's awful.
It's what I think it is it's like one of the, we call them fire and forget sites. Basically, somebody probably bought the code, propped it up, and it was forgotten years ago. And
Yeah.
it just sits there, and it's like a cash cow. It just sits there. And
Yeah,
rolls
no, you
people
can
in.
tell that no improvements have been made
No.
because I was on it before I was married 10 years ago. More than that. No, when I got married in 2006. A long time ago. I was on it a long time ago, and it's the same now as it was then.
Oh.
And so you can tell that no improvements have been made. You're right. That's a really good point. Planet's goal seems to be to just get people talking to each other, even if you don't have any interest in talking to that other person. And that's the problem. So it's not sophisticated at all. I mean, but you're right. It's a cash cow. They're making money on it. So what they don't care.
Yeah.
They're just going to keep
So
going.
what we should do is get together, and we should write our own site.
Sure.
There you go.
Go.
You guys give me the information,
And
and
call
I'll
it
write
I
the
can
Church
give you
of
the
Jesus Christ
information.
of Latter-day Saints Planet.
That's right. The full name.
We'll just call ourselves We're Not Mutual.
There you go.
Might
I
have a
don't
small
know.
problem with trademark on that one.
Well, but even the format for our time is similar to it was similar to not LDS Planet, but there was another one, and I can't think of the name of it because I had seen that one. It looks familiar too. But the same thing, lots of, where lots of pictures, say what you want, and then, but yet there's a lot of misunderstanding about views and flirts and highs.
Because if you
Didn't there
see
used
a
to be
lot
one
of
called
views,
LDS
you're
Hookup?
What? I'm sorry.
Wasn't there
LDS
one called
Hookup?
LDS Hookup?
LDS hookup?
I've only been doing this for
I don't
like
think so.
3
because
years.
hookup means
That has a
something
negative
very
connotation.
different.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Well, I thought I had heard of
That
it.
would be like
Yeah.
LDS Netflix and
Yeah.
chill.
The words
So-
the words
What was that?
the words
That-
Mormon and hookup are kind
Yeah,
of oxymoron.
and
They're not
Come
synonymous.
follow me and chill.
And I'm sure there are many members that would be down for that kind of thing, but we're not gonna. We're not
Wow.
those. So we are not
That's
that.
interesting.
We're not that crowd.
So, but
hey,
I-
well, just a
Oh,
minute. Sorry,
sure.
Melissa. Because it's my podcast, I'm always going to interrupt when I feel like it. We're talking about these programs and apps and whatever, but I want to get into the stories.
Okay.
So I want you each. Yes, I see a hand raised over there, Sarah. You start us out
I
with
have
a story.
a story, and can I kick it off with the story? Can you guys hear me? Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So this story is fresh. because it happened yesterday.
All right.
And
yeah.
it was not on Mutual. It was on Bumble, which is another location-based app, And, I'm on a lot of them, and those are two. So this one happened to be Bumble. And we chatted, we matched, good-looking guy. Well, of course, right?
Were you in Utah at
and,
the time?
We matched, we chatted, and, he's divorced, has one child, and, I told him that I was going to be in town, and so we had a lunch date. And it started off that apparently there was a restaurant that I didn't know there was a second one of in our area, and I went to the wrong one.
Oops.
And I was like, "Hey, I'm here." He's like, "Hey, I just walked in." Whoops. And so he drove the 10 minutes to meet me. So it started off a little rough. And as he's walking up, so I was waiting for him outside. Beautiful day. As he's walking up towards me, and I was like, suit and tie, like white shirt and tie. He's like dressed up for work and looked all handsome. And he had these AirPods, like the little thingies, but without the string, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
So he had
earbuds.
something in his ear,
Bluetooth.
earbuds. Yeah, we'll call them earbuds. So he has earbuds in his ear, and I see him take them out as he's walking up. Hey, how you doing? Sorry for the mix-up. Give him a hug. Because I was like, give him a hug, make him feel comfortable. And so, we will go inside, we order our food, and it's one of those, order at the counter and then go to the little drink station and get your forks and knives and stuff. So as we get our food, and as we're, at the counter getting, napkins and whatever, I look at him and I said, hey, you still have one of your earbuds in your ear. And he says, I know, I'm on a conference call.
Oh,
I was like,
nothing like some undivided attention there.
you're on a conference call? He's like, yeah, we have this big client meeting and whatever. I'm not talking, I'm just listening. And I was like, okay. So I just really played it off like I wasn't annoyed or anything, but inside I was boiling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do I do? So we sit down, we eat, and he said some other things that just made it very clear that he and I are not a good match. And he checked his phone 4 times. So I'm going to just put out a podcast public service announcement. When you're on a date, be on the date. Put your phone away and be present.
Yes.
And so
Agreed.
I was telling him that I'm in transition and, hey, I might have a job interview sitting on my voicemail right now from the interviews I had this week. And that's true. And he goes, well, you're welcome to check your phone if you need to. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I like to be present when I'm with someone.
Oh.
Oh, what did he
Good.
say?
Yeah, did he react?
No, he didn't get it. And so when the
Get it?
date was over, after him telling me that he hates springtime, I'm like, you hate spring? And I said, you have allergies? He's like, no, I don't have allergies, even though he blew his nose 4 times at the table. Another, manners. Basic manners go a long way. And I was like, wow, is this happening? And that, I got to tell you, I almost was delighted because I'm like, I am so excited for this podcast on Saturday.
Yeah, you're like, you should have
And
taken notes, right?
I mean, I
Secretly
was
filmed it.
floored at just his blithe, unaware, mindfulness. Just out, he was just out there,
Yeah.
and doesn't like springtime, and because he likes the cold, the dark weather. And I'm like, are you a vampire? Are you a bat? I don't. Just the odds were just stacking up against him. So, and then when I left, I said, he did buy my lunch, so I did thank him for that because I'm not a horrible person. I said, hey, nice to meet you. Thanks for lunch. And then I said, as a side note, the next date you go on, I would recommend that you get off your conference call completely. And his response back was, okay.
You know what? I think that at the end of dates, sometimes we should have little exit interview cards, right? That you fill out, and,
You know,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
I mean,
8.
clearly not a good match, but it just was a sign of disrespect. I think if he would have said, I have a busy day, I have this crazy call I've got to get on, I've got to be on. And if he would have canceled, I would have been fine. But the fact that he tried to do both at the same time,
yeah. and checking his phone. I wait till
it didn't bode well at all.
I wait till a guy gets up to go to the bathroom before I check my phone.
Right. And if I go to the bathroom, that's when I check my phone, when I'm in a
Yeah.
stall with the door closed. But like, it makes for a good story. So yeah, if you're on a conference call, don't try to squeeze in a lunch date.
Yeah, good one. Thank you, Sarah. That reminds me of one I had too. It wasn't quite as extreme, but it was almost like we had an appointment because we met for dinner at 6, and exactly at 8 o'clock he stood up and said, "Well, I have to go now." And so I looked at my clock. I mean, it was exactly 8 on the dot. And so I was thinking either he has another date or he's just very meticulous about, I have allotted 2 hours for this date. It was very
Wow.
Did he not?
Like
And he didn't
that's a
say
hard
anything.
stop. I mean, that's what you say when you're on a conference call. Do we have a hard stop at any time? Great. When it hits 3 o'clock, we've got to be done. Like,
Yeah, dates should be that. Well, but you know what?
Maybe you should ask from now on, do we have a hard stop on this day?
Yeah, seriously.
What's your hard stuff?
So, Sarah, aren't you glad that it was lunch instead of dinner though? Because you got to leave sooner, right?
yeah, I'm glad. I mean, I'm a big fan of short dates. I've been on Match and, Bumble and all these different things. And, when I meet, I'll always say, let's meet at a coffee shop or let's meet for hot cocoa. Or, I always like to do it like in the middle of the day or the beginning of the day or whatever on a Saturday. So I know that this was 90 minutes max.
Yeah.
I'm just a huge fan. I mean, unless it's like someone you're dating and you really like them, like, of course that can be longer. But if it's like the first date out of the gate after meeting online, short. Keep them short.
Yeah, I agree.
Really short.
Definitely.
And I'm a huge fan of a short date.
Yes.
Sounds like both of those guys, the odds were ever against them.
Right.
All right.
And I feel bad. And he told me, so I don't have kids. I have a lot of nieces, right? That's kind of where I'm at in life. And he has a daughter, and he told me that she has just arrived in womanhood. And I'm like, I didn't want to know that, and I bet she would be mortified to know that her dad is talking about that to a stranger. It was just lots of really odd conversation topics. And I just kind of smiled and ate my soup. And I was like, yeah, just from like, I wish I could record this conversation.
Awesome. All right. I believe that Mike has a story that he would like to share.
Well, I don't know if I want to follow that one up, but yeah, I'll tell my story. So I dated this lady who lived pretty far away, and we talked on the phone for a couple of months, and then we made plans for her to come out. So she came out. It was a very short, like 3-day visit, and it went fine, with one exception. She made a remark, and I took note of this remark, and I'm going to tell you why I took note of it in a minute. But she said something about how she had been told, and this is a little risque, so this is where it's going to go. She said that someone had told her that her feet were attractive and were worthy of display on the internet. So I made note of that.
Yeah.
And
That's pretty weird.
and it was not mentioned again on that visit. And then I went to visit her, then like maybe 2 months later. And during that visit, well, actually, even on the phone, in between that visit, while we were on the phone, she asked me if I would be willing to help her put together a website specifically for this. It's like
So people with foot fetishes.
exactly.
Okay.
I didn't want to say it. I'm glad you did. So I was like, you know what? No.
Yeah.
I just flat out said no. And not only do I not want to do that, I really don't want to be with anybody that wants to do it. And the reason that I made note of that from the first time she mentioned it is because I work with computers, right? And this is not the first time I've been asked or approached by people to help them put together pornography sites.
Wow.
And because they find out you're into computers, they're like, oh, well,
Yeah.
I'm willing to do this or that. Would you run the site for me? And I've never been willing to do
Are
this.
you serious? Dang.
Yeah, I'm completely serious. I was even on a cruise
Wow.
one time and was asked by a couple, a male and female couple on that cruise, if they wanted to do it together, and I would run the site for them. So this is not new to
You're
me.
like,
Yeah, and it's the reason I made note of that is because I was wondering, is that where this is going to go?
Yeah.
And it is exactly where it went. So then when I went, I figured on the phone I had put it, I don't want to say put it to bed, put it to rest. And so I hoped it would never be talked about again. Then I went down to where she lives, and I don't want to give away her identity, but she really put a hard sell on this.
Wow.
For this, and I said, I already said it, I want to do this.
Wait, is she a member?
She's inactive.
Oh, okay.
She is from she says her whole family is active except for her.
Oh.
And she was apparently married to a non-member, and that's so. Anyways, and she brought this up no less than 3 times while we were down there at her where she lives, and it got to the point where I was like, all right, I was just starting to add up, like she was saying, that the negatives, like why this was not going to work.
Right.
And that was a big one. The inactivity was a big one.
Right.
Um,
Red flags.
yeah. And then finally, originally it was that I think she was going to move to Colorado, but then she has her daughter where she lives, and she decided not to. So that's why
Right.
it ended. But honestly, when it ended, I was really relieved because
yeah.
I was just
Dodge
like, man,
a bullet.
Yeah. So it's not like I didn't. I mean, other than that, we got along super good. Like
That's pretty big.
Yeah, it was huge. It was huge.
Deal break? Is
It
that
was
a deal breaker?
It was a deal breaker.
It's not
Absolute
like,
deal breaker.
he likes white chocolate. For me, I'm like, yeah, that's annoying, but it's not a deal breaker.
Yeah.
He wants to set
You
up
can learn to live
My
with
story's
someone.
not so, I guess, funny. It's just like, I had not encountered this before, but I've heard of other people that have. So there's a guy that I matched with on Mutual, and he's said he was in Britain, but his location kept changing when I would go on. And so I was like, oh, well, maybe he travels for work. I don't know. Yeah.
no, on Mutual, they have this thing called Ward Hop, so you can change your location. So I could be sitting here in Highland, Utah, and I can change my location to Manhattan and match and make it seem like I'm local. Right? Isn't that what that means?
Oh, I have not paid for the app. I'm just using the free portion
Yeah,
of
it's
it.
called Ward Hop. Because I saw the same thing. I was chatting with a guy that says he was in Utah, but he's from Georgia, and I was like, where are you? He was in Georgia, and that was the guy that sent me the shirtless selfie. And I'm like,
yeah.
you're not at the gym, you're not hiking, you're not at the beach, you're like in your room. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, the shirtless selfie,
Yucky.
Gross.
So what happened, Emily?
Well, so we were talking about different things, and then the conversation got to hobbies and interests, and this was like after maybe 4 or 5 exchanges of talking, and then we were talking about snowboarding. He said, oh, I go every year to someplace in France, starts with an M, Mabel, Maribel, or something like that. You should come with me. And I was like, I don't know of any, I don't have any friends currently that live there who I could stay with, so I would want to make sure friends could come with me. And he's like, you could just come with me. And I said, no, I don't roll that way. He's like, well, why don't you roll that way? And I just thought, what?
This was mutual?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and there's a couple of other situations that have happened, but I'm able to tell pretty quickly, Sarah, like you said, when they say, how you doing? Or, hey, gorgeous, hey, beautiful. You kind of get this idea that, yeah, you're not really starting this in a healthy, productive way. I don't like the trail you're starting. I'm just getting off that trail right now. So, but I'm able to do that pretty quickly, pretty easily and confidently, and I love it. So those are positives for me that I can tell pretty quickly. But anyway, so that ended pretty quickly, and I had already exchanged information on Marco Polo. And so I deleted the Marco Polo, and I deleted him off, but he still has that number, right? he hasn't tried to contact me, but I just thought, ugh, that's a little scary. I mean, he opened up about some other things about his things he does that are not appropriate, and I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds like a good thing to work on.
Oh, gosh.
Are you wanting to work on it though?
Yeah.
No, probably not. Anyway, so not funny at all. Just really, whoa.
Getting
I did
invited to
not.
France, huh?
Yeah. So I'm not going to France.
You're going to miss out on whatever it was he had
Probably
planned
good, yeah.
for you.
Yeah. Well, there's other guys that say on their profile, "I love to travel. I'm looking for a travel partner," and I just think, wait, you're looking for a travel partner? Like, you don't have a buddy that's going to travel with you? Why are you soliciting for females to be your travel
girls are
partner?
more fun.
Well, we are. We absolutely are.
I see that all the time. Like, I need a +1 to a wedding in Cabo in a month, or I see that all the time. I'm like,
So what are the arrangements, travel and, stay arrangements? I just get, it sounds iffy to me.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
wouldn't trust it.
first date. Oh, yeah, let's
Yeah,
travel
I'm
together.
not traveling out of the country, out of the state with a guy unless he's my boyfriend, and I know him really well.
Yeah,
That has
I'm with you.
like Lifetime movie written like all over it is something really bad.
Oh, yeah, something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Melissa? You've got some stories.
I have some doozies. Well, I have to say, in the year that it's been about a year when I tried this websites, I met 12 different men, 7 members, 5 non-members, and I've only been on 3 dates. So for me it was always everybody just seems to want a text pal, not even a pen pal, but just a text pal.
That's so,
And never, it's like by the time we text for an hour here, I could have driven somewhere and met you. And that's been kind of crazy. But the first one, the very first date of the person I met online, it was going to be a simple meet me at lunch near my work. So that it's like, oh, could work.
Oh, wait, is this the guy that you told me about with the hygiene issues?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, tell us.
So we show up, we go to, and can I say where the restaurant is?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we go to Noodles by my work, and real safe. I walk over from my office, and first of all, gentleman shows up, and in all of his profile pictures, he looks one way, but obviously he is anywhere between 30 and 40 pounds overweight. So he really doesn't look like his pictures at all.
All advertising. That's what that is.
Like,
I know, I hate that too.
I couldn't, even though me being an old hairdresser, I could not tell you just by looking at his hair when the last time he had washed his hair. It was pretty green. I'm like, ooh, I can't. I was used to be bullseye. I could bullseye that on someone. I couldn't even bullseye that on him.
Oh.
It was pretty bad. The typical polo shirt with the wrinkled bacon collar, and setting grease stains. And the worst part, though, of all of it, and drum roll, long, dirty fingernails. And I was just like, wow. So I was just like, well, okay. So we sat down. They brought the food, and
I think I would feel my chair moving back slowly.
Well, we sat across, of course. So I'm like looking at fingernails and hair, going, "Wow."
But I think I'd be planning my exit.
trying to
the
be-
whole time I'd just be planning my exit.
Yeah. So it's just like,
Plan
well,
your
how much do you?
exit.
Yeah, how much do you share? How much do you don't? How much do you not? So sure enough, they bring the food, and it's just like, ooh, silverware. And he's like, oh, I'll get it. I'm like, no.
Don't touch my
It's right
silverware.
behind me.
Do
You're
not
not
touch it.
touching my silverware. And so I was like, got it right here. Got it right here, right behind me. Got it. Good. Here you go. And so for me, I was like, so when I got back to work, and my coworkers are like, so how'd it go? And I'm like, don't ask. And I try to be a very positive person, try to put a positive spin on everything. And it's just like, well, at least we weren't eating like pizza or Mediterranean food with everybody has to eat with their hands, because I would have probably ralphed right then.
Yeah,
It's like,
pretty
well.
bad.
So
and a lot of guys on their profile pictures, and I mean, I've never searched for women. I'm sure there's horrible women's pictures too, but a lot of the guys' pictures like will reflect something like that, like the the mirror selfie or the car selfie or car like with them wearing like, you know, the bacon colored shirt. I'm like, you know, if I see a guy's profile and I can tell that he really cares, like those are nice pictures and they're not, I can tell he's trying to put his best foot forward. He's not like doing a handstand on a beach, you know, that's just like, or no pictures of him and I can see his face, or, you know what I mean? It's like,
or they're
a lot
looking
of times
down.
there's
I hate
pictures, I'm like,
looking down.
is this a joke?
Yeah. Or they're looking down at the phone and they're frowning. I don't understand that.
Or
either.
they're laying up against a pillow and taking a picture of
unattractive
something.
angle on anyone. You're like, do you want to look like you have fortune?
Yeah, people should never look down.
Why are you showing?
Right.
Why is there a picture of like zooming in on your bald spot on your head? Like that's not a problem.
You need to powder that before you take a picture.
Or looking up their nose or whatever. Yeah, I know. I'll never understand how people.
Where is the self-awareness?
Yeah, why would you put an unflattering picture on a dating profile?
Well,
I don't get that.
And I think the thing that drove me, for me, is that what I've noticed too is that you can tell, you start looking through pictures and it's just like younger, older, a little older. Oh, there you are now is probably what you look like today. Even though that should be your first picture.
I hate trying to figure out the timeline.
Yeah, you kind of figure out timelines. Or if it's all their kids, it's just like, okay, wait, that picture you had like a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and now here's you with teenagers and grandkids. And it's just like that's not. So it was, and
update your pictures.
Yeah, he asked me, he's like, do you want to go out again? I said, no. Now, a friend of mine said, well, why don't you take him on as like a makeover guy, and I'm like,
no projects.
Project man, makeover man, I just couldn't
Someone my counselor, I went to see her and I was telling her about the 30-day babe thing because I was concerned about getting involved with someone who I could break his heart. And she says, you're not his adult caregiver. No. And so we don't take on projects.
So, well, the closest thing I would have done is I would have gotten him a manicure kit, some Axe body wash, because if you start at the top, by the time it kind of gets down the rest of your body and the rest of it, and some like shout for all of his shirts, So for me, I was just like, that's it. So that was kind of my first experience, and I just said, sorry, I'm not interested. You
didn't say it's not mutual.
It's not mutual.
No, it makes me think. I think Studio C did something kind of like this in one of their little episodes. It was so cute, but it would be really handy if at the end of the date you could just swipe down in the air,
Oh yeah,
let them
know. To swipe on the guy.
Let's do our swiping.
Disappear.
Let's do our swiping.
It's not working.
And so when one of them, you see, maybe one of you is swiping down and one is swiping up, but
it's not a match.
If you're both doing down or one of you's down, it's over. It's not mutual. You move on. Well, we are out of time, but thank you all for your wonderful, interesting, and disgusting stories. And
I do want to say that the person that I accidentally favorited, I would tell him in person.
Oh, okay.
When the time comes. He's my favorite.
We need to tell people that they're in person. You have someone specific that you want to tell right now?
No.
Oh, okay. No. Anybody want to put their number, phone number?
Well, I just have to say, like, the gross fingernails. My friend went on a date with a guy she met on Match, and he, the topic of conversation from the moment they sat down at dinner for 10 minutes later was about his earwax problem.
What?
Lovely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That pretty much takes the cake.
Personal grooming, let's just leave that off the table, But I will say that if the date is going well, let's just pretend. Because, I have had first dates, they've gone well. There are some really great tips by Matthew Hussey. He's a dating coach, but he just focuses on coaching women. Sorry, Mike. About different things to say to get you to the second date. And I've actually tried some of them, and they work. It's really crazy.
So let's post that. Can we post that?
Matthew Hussey guy, he's full of beans. I'm going to put him to the test. Turns out he knows what he's talking about. There's a book that he wrote called Get the Guy. Anyway, he just has a lot of really great tips that are, he's not LDS based, but, he really focuses on, like, women putting their best foot forward and being women of value and being well respected and, not just, getting into situations that we try to avoid, right? So,
Right. So
I'll send that link too.
Okay, yes,
Cool.
send that link, and I will also post a link to the TED Talk, and I will put all
Yeah.
of this in my show notes so that if you go to AnnetteTalks.com, you can find it. Also, while we're wrapping up here, if you go to iTunes, it would be great if you could rate and I can't remember, what is that, rate and something. Anyway, go to iTunes when you're listening and rate the podcast so that it can be seen more. And if you go to YouTube, feel free to comment there. I really want to have a discussion online about these.
Are you talking about liking?
On iTunes you get to rate and.
Oh, I don't listen on iTunes. I
do
listen on
something.
podcasts.
Not reply, but you can do something. I'm
That
told that.
gives you a rating, that gives you a hit, so that people can. It brings it up more frequently.
Yes,
when people are
exactly.
looking
So
for.
if you're listening on iTunes, please rate it so it gets more play. But if you want to see these show notes, come to AnnetteTalks.com and look at that episode, and I'll post it there below the episode. But also, like I said, I'm on YouTube, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, I think. So anyway, we are done with this topic for today, but this is a popular topic, so we'll probably be returning to it soon. And if you have any ideas or anything you want me to read on that next episode, like you've had your own crazy dating experience, feel free to comment on the website or shoot me a message at AnnetteTalks.com. And thank you for listening, and thank you for joining. Thank you all my
Happy dating.
yes,
Yeah, happy
thank you
dating.
all my peeps that are here, and thank you to my listeners for joining us here on LDS Unmarried Life, where LDS singles gather.
I'm gonna bloom where I'm planted. I won't take things for granted. Come what may, bring it on. I'm gonna love it.